Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1443 AN. Today's date is December 8th, 2017, and the title of the episode is Central Banks Want to Replace the US Dollar with a Single Global Super Currency. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the job numbers came out today, and the unemployment numbers, the percentage is staying around 4.1%. It really hasn't moved. But they're trying to convince us, and this is coming from the BLS, that, there are just more jobs out there. We've added about 228,000 jobs. And when we look at the numbers, we see that a lot of the jobs were retail, temp workers, some in the healthcare, leisure and hospitality. And first of all, when we break down the numbers and we really look at this, we need to realize that, retail, thousands upon thousands of stores are closing. Many have gone bankrupt. Yes, we are in the holiday season, and they do count the temp jobs as a job. We see a lot of jobs in the food service area, waiters and bartenders, and that hit an all-time new high. And we need to understand that the restaurant's performance index, that has been declining. So once again, the BLS is just throwing these numbers in, and you have to remember how they get the numbers for retail. Just because retail stores are closing or they're going bankrupt and people are losing jobs, they don't just remove them. They remove them over time. Same thing with retail sales. And this is what we've been seeing, where they use special manipulated formulas to say, the retail stores have closed, but we're going to drag this out for the rest of the year and say that, nothing has really happened. Plus, we're seeing other part-time jobs come on board during the holiday season, and we're just going to count that as a full-time job, so everything looks fantastic. And this is what the BLS has been doing for a very long time, and what we're seeing right now is manipulation to the max. Now, we've been following all these bubbles. We have the student loan bubble, we have the auto loan bubble, we have the bond bubble, we have the stock market bubble, the housing bubble. Basically what it is, it's the everything bubble. And we can see right now that we are heading towards a period of time where the everything bubble is really getting out of control. Now, when we look at this, we can see that we might be near the end of the bond bubble. Why do I say this? Well, back in June, the world saw the unveiling of perhaps the single most insane investment of all time, a 100-year bond. Now, to make matters more insane, the countries that were issuing these bonds, Argentina and Austria, both have experienced numerous sovereign debt crises in the last 100 years. Most recently, Austria almost went bust in 2015, and Argentina only just resolved its issues with debt holders from its 2001 default last year in 2016. Now, of course, 100-year bonds are not entirely new. Belgium and Ireland issued 100-year bonds in 2016. So we need to put this in simple terms. Two countries, both of which struggle with sovereign debt issues in the last 4 years, saw investors place between $3 and $4 in bids for every $1 in new debt issuance on a 100-year bond. This is beyond insanity. It is the textbook definition of a bubble, and it indicates we are nearing the end of the line for this current bubble. This is why you need to prepare before the carnage hits. And we see that China, Russia, Iran, India, the BRIC nations, they're planning to move to a different currency. And we know that China and Iran and Russia, they've been making bilateral trade agreements with all these countries where they're bypassing the dollar. And if we go back in time, we need to understand that the reserve currency status, it doesn't last forever. If we go to Portugal back in the 1400s, it only lasted about something like 50 years. Same thing with Spain, the Netherlands, France, Britain, and then finally the US. And here we are at the end. Now, the central banks, as we know, they want a different currency. And the central bank's former chief economist wants to replace the US dollar with a single global super currency, saying it will create a more stable global financial system. Well, let me translate that for you. That will be a one world currency. They'll have control over everything, and it will be better for them, not for the people, because that means they can issue currency from one location, centralized, and everyone would be on the same debt structure. And this will make it easier for them to control everything. And we see right now that the dollar regime is coming to an end. Now, Russian President Putin said almost 2 months ago during his BRICS summit, he said the following: Russia shares the BRICS countries' concerns over the unfairness of the global financial and economic architecture, which does not give due regard to the growing weight of the emerging economies. We are ready to work together with our partners to promote international financial regulation reforms and to overcome the excessive domination of the limited number of reserve currencies. As Pepe Escobar recently noted, to overcome the excessive domination of the limited number of reserve currencies is the politest way of stating that the BRICS have been discussing for years now how to bypass the US dollar as well as the petrodollar. And we're already seeing this with the petro yuan and also the petro ruble. The central bankers, their mission, their goal is to have a central super global currency. Now, the only thing that will stop this is if the people decide they don't want this and they go towards a different currency system, something maybe like cryptocurrencies. This is why they're so afraid of cryptocurrencies. And don't get me wrong, gold and silver is still very important. It ensures your wealth. Global currencies will be used and be issued by the people instead of central banks. And you can use your assets, which would be gold and silver, land, stocks, and everything else, to purchase currency. I mean, think about it. Go back many, many years ago when people wanted to purchase something, they would hand in the silver, they would get paper currency, and they would use the paper currency to basically deal in goods. The same thing is going to happen once again. I mean, today, if you had a huge amount of gold or silver and you wanted to deal with, retail, or you wanted to do anything, you would have to take that, sell it, and get paper currency. The same thing's going to happen in the crypto world. You will take your gold and silver and trade it in for the new currency. If it's the super global currency that the central banks want, that's what will happen. If it's the cryptocurrency, that's what will happen. And this is why I've been saying you still need to have gold and silver. You need to own cryptocurrency. You have to hold dollars right now because in the beginning stages, you're going to need those dollars because when inflation hits, and which means that the dollar is being devalued, you're going to have to use that up first before you move to bartering or cryptocurrency. You'll keep your gold and silver. You'll keep it to ensure your wealth. Same thing with land and stocks and things like that. Just because we go through a reset, a collapse, doesn't mean everything goes to zero. The dollar, which is a paper currency, will go to zero eventually, and something else will take its place. Now, we have a battle going on right now between the cryptocurrency market, the people's currency, and the central banking system. The central banking system, they don't want the crypto market. I don't think they're going to be able to control it the way they thought they were going to be able to control it. I think it's too decentralized. They can't get a handle on it. There's too many of them out there. And they would have to convince the governments, they would have to create laws where they say, this is the cryptocurrency we're going to use, and the central banks are going to control it. And will this happen? We don't know as of yet. So what they're going to try to do, and this is why they're coming up with the future market, they're going to try to control the crypto market in another way. And this is what they're going to try to do so they can push their agenda of having a super global one world currency. That's eventually what they want. And we see right now, the people will have to eventually say, you know something? We don't need the central bank. We don't need it. There's no reason for it. We have this crypto machine right now, the blockchain, and this is working out really well. And there's no reason for banks. There's no reason for a central bank. There's no reason to create this currency with interest attached. So this next battle is going to be between central banks and the cryptocurrency, and who is going to control the next currency of the world. And while this is happening, everything is going to start to fall apart. And is it going to happen tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. But whenever it does, you're going to know right away, because all of a sudden you're going to see the stock market collapse. You're going to see people without jobs. You're going to hear the announcement of a new currency, a new system that we're going on to. It could be the central bank system, it could be the cryptocurrency market system. And you'll realize that something has gone wrong. In the beginning, they're going to tell you everything is fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, the central banks will handle it. And they're going to try to patch things up with more stimulus and things like that. But this would be the signal at this point that things are rapidly falling apart. And this is why you need to be ready and prepared. And this is why I believe you need to have all these things at your disposal, because it's almost like preparing for a catastrophe and you only have batteries. It doesn't make sense, because you need food, you need water, you need other supplies. Same thing with an economic collapse. You need more than just cryptocurrency. You need more than just gold or silver. You need more than just dollars. You need food, you need water, you need medical supplies, you need a weapon to protect yourself. You need all the different types of currencies, because you don't know what's going to happen. That's what's being, that when we say be prepared, that is what we mean. Be prepared on every front as best you possibly can. And for those people who say, well, I can't get silver, I can't get gold, I can't get cryptocurrency, you can but get a little bit. I mean, if you're paying for Starbucks, if you're doing something else, going out to dinner, getting McDonald's, whatever you do, instead of doing that, buy some junk silver. Buy a fraction of Bitcoin, buy a fraction of Dash, buy a fraction of something. Keep some dollars in your home. When you go out shopping, buy a little bit extra food if you can. If you're buying food, put a little bit aside. There's always a way to do this. You might not be doing it the way the other person's doing it, but there's always a way that you can do it a little at a time. And for those people who are just starting now, you might want to start ramping up. Those people who have been doing it for quite a while, you've had the time to do this, and you should have a huge stockpile by now. So we can see that the time is coming. We know what the central banks want. We see the crypto market becoming larger and larger, and the next battle that's going to be fought is going to be between who's going to be and who's going to own and control the next currency. It's either going to be the people or the central banks. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.